The UPSC CSE arena is an ever-evolving space where staying up to date becomes as crucial as maintaining a thorough preparation. With strategic planning and holistic coverage for exam syllabus, Vision IS Delhi presents GS Foundation course. Avail analysis and integration of current affairs with GS syllabus. All India test series with an innovative assessment system, inculcating post-test analysis, discussion, All India ranking, and more. Explore the holistic learning modules intrinsically designed for the ideal aspirant.
Okay, good evening everybody. Welcome to this masterclass series. Today's topics that we will be discussing in this class are first renewable energy. Okay, now renewable energy, as you all know, is a very broad term, okay, which includes what all? Tell me. Solar, wind, geothermal, wind, hydro, or biomass, tidal, correct. So renewable energy is a very broad term, okay, and due to paucity of time and considering the importance of the subject, we will be covering 3 renewable energy in detail. One is solar, the second is wind, and third is biomass, okay. In this we will be understanding what is the value chain involved, how the technology part of it works, what is India's position with respect to the international community and other countries, what is the position of different states within India, their ranking, how well they are doing, what are our targets, how much have we achieved, how much is still left, and everything related to renewable energy, particularly 3 topics: solar, wind, and biomass, okay. The second topic is related to e-waste generation in India, especially in India. We'll be understanding what e-waste generation, what exactly e-waste is, what are the different components that we receive out of e-waste. In addition to that, something which is most important and which I believe that confuses students the most is the rules related to e-waste. We really don't understand. Every few years some rules come, management and handling. What is happening, who is doing what is changing with every progressive rules is something that we fail to understand. That is what we will cover in this class. Clear? Okay, so shall we start? All right. Okay, so renewable energy. You tell me first, what is the need for renewable energy? Why do we need renewable energy? Sustainable source of energy, okay, or it is non-depleting. What is renewable, by the way? The name itself is telling you that it can renew itself, okay? Faster than we can consume it, it renews or replenishes itself faster than we can consume it. And mostly it is naturally occurring, okay? These are naturally occurring sources of energy. Whether it is solar, whether it is wind, whether it is biomass. Biomass is also naturally occurring, correct? Now, what is the difference between renewable, unconventional and non-fossil energy? These terms are used interchangeably. What is the difference? Nay, what? What is the difference? What is non-fossil fuel-based energy? Other than hydrocarbons, right? Okay. Are all non-fossil fuel-based energy sources same as renewable energy sources? Can you give me an example of one source of energy which probably is non-fossil but is not renewable? Nuclear energy, right? So there is a distinction in those terms. Usually, look, conventional and unconventional means, conventional means jo industrial revolution time se we have been using, like coal, oil, these kind of products. This is, but normally renewable and unconventional are used interchangeably. But when you hear the word non-fossil anywhere, always remember that nuclear energy becomes a part of it, okay? But it is still not exactly renewable because we are limited by the content of uranium. Clear? Okay. So we were discussing what is the need for renewable energy. Why do we need renewable energy? Tell me. What is the need for renewable energy? If there's a question in UPSC, what are the 4 or 5 points you will give? 1, it is environmentally friendly. 2, it is sustainable. You can draw more and more of it without actually finishing it. Second, third, yes, depleting. You are reducing your dependence on fossil fuels. So it is not just, it also gives you energy security. That is the word that you will use, energy security. What else? Sorry? It is driven by local resources. It is available. Unlike fossil fuel, where you are required, you probably need to be sitting on a reserve of coal or crude oil, right? So that's not the case. It's mostly locally available, okay? Mostly, not everywhere. You can't say that solar is available everywhere, wind, but mostly it can be used as a distributed energy resource. I'll come to that, what is that later. Or, okay, so let's just quickly understand it will help in economic development of a country, okay? Any country which grows in renewable energy now will definitely develop economically because they are not dependent on any other country for their energy requirements. Reliability, more or less धूप और हवा रहने वाली है दुनिया में, they're not going away, okay? And price stability, okay? Again, you are not dependent on outside geopolitical situations or anything for the price stability. So that also is a part of why renewable energy is required. Now, if you see the energy composition, what we have witnessed in the last few decades, starting from here, I hope this is visible, 1985, this was the energy composition. Gray is coal, red is gas, oil, nuclear, and hydropower, okay? Now, coming from 1985 to 2021, see 1985 mein renewable is almost non-existent. But starting from 2010-ish onwards or 5-ish onwards, you see that there is an increase in the composition of renewable energy, particularly pink is wind, solar, and other renewable energy. So this is how the energy mix of the world looks like. If I have to look at it in percentage, this is what the energy mix of the world looks like in 2023. The PPT will be made available to you. You can note down the data later, but please do note it down because this is important, okay? So for example, we are still heavily reliant on crude oil. This is still the single largest source of energy for us, that is 32%. Then there is coal, there is natural gas, and then about 18% comes from non-fossil. Okay, non-fossil because I am including 4% nuclear here. Okay, this is still the energy mix of the world 2023. Cross-country comparison in terms of renewable energy. If you look here, this is 2024 data. Okay, now if you see, India is the fourth largest. सुनने में है कि we are the fourth largest country with renewable energy in the world. But now see the difference between India and China. Can you see that? China is number one, but China by leaps and bounds is ahead of so many countries, all the other countries, in terms of renewable energy. So China is aggressively pushing for renewable energy and its reliance on that, which clearly shows the importance of renewable energy in the time to come. Okay, so China has about 1400. This is in gigawatts roughly. India इसमें 176 दिया हुआ है, but the latest data that is for October right now, I mean 14th October or 10th October, recently India surpassed 200 gigawatts. Okay, this was in news. India recently surpassed 200 gigawatts. This is then, look. India's renewable energy capacity hits 200 gigawatts milestone. This just happened on 14th October 2024. Okay, so this is an easy to remember number. 200 gigawatt हम achieve कर चुके हैं renewable energy. All right. Now that 200 gigawatts supports how much percentage of our energy requirements? It constitutes about 46.3% of the total capacity. So total हमारी जो energy capacity है उसका 46.3% now comes from renewable, which is pretty good, right? Correct? Okay. In terms of division within India, if you look at it, solar power again dominates the Indian renewable energy mix with 45% comes from solar. Okay, wind and hydro. Okay, and this is not small hydro, this is just large hydro, main bade hydropower projects. They are very neck to neck, very close right now. This hydro is about 23.3% and wind is about 23.5%. Gradually, wind will take over because it is obviously easier to establish wind parks and that is being undertaken at an aggressive pace. So second rank if you have to give, agar prelims में MCQ आता है on arranging, second rank will go to wind. This is latest data. Okay, please do not follow any other website, do not follow any old material with respect to this because this has changed now. All right, latest is, first is solar, second is wind, and third is hydro. After that, you have biopower. When I say biopower, I am including two things. One, I am including biofuels, and second, I am including biogas. Okay, both. That is about 5.6%. And finally, small hydropower. What is the definition of small hydropower projects? Which is less than 25 megawatts. Okay, those are 2.5%. This is India's current and latest renewable energy mix. Okay, what are the states? Which states are driving India's renewable energy right now? Number one is Rajasthan, both solar and wind. Okay, so हम Rajasthan को sometimes we are not able to associate it with winds. Most of the textbooks which are outdated still talk about Tamil Nadu, right? But Rajasthan, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. This is about total renewable energy capacity. Solar and wind हम separately अभी देखेंगे, ठीक है? Total renewable energy capacity state-wise Rajasthan, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. So overall as a country, we had pledged COP26 में ग्लासगो में हमने एक प्लेज लिया था, ठीक है, अंडर इंडियाज नेशनली डिटर्मिन्ड कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस that these are the 5 targets that we will achieve in the renewable energy sector. What are those targets? In the form of a Panchamrit pledge. You know it? Most of you might know it, right? First target was, पहले हम देखेंगे target क्या था, and then we will see how much of it have we actually achieved till now. First is, by 2030, non-fossil energy capacity will reach 500 gigawatts. Non-fossil energy capacity will reach 500 gigawatts. And where are we today? How much have we achieved today in renewable energy? 200. Now remember 200 जो था, that is our renewable energy, which means we are not including nuclear, but this target talks about nuclear also. इसलिए our nuclear जो capacity currently है is around 8,000 megawatts, that is about 8 gigawatts. तो 200 plus 8 means हम 208 out of 500 अभी तक अचीव कर चुके हैं. Is this clear? Okay, this is what we have achieved till 2024. So अभी भी दिल्ली थोड़ा दूर है. ठीक है? All right. Next is renewable energy will meet 50% of the energy needs by 2030. Where are we on this? We just discussed this. We are 46.3% on the renewable energy. So we are very close to achieving this target. By next year, I think we'll definitely achieve this target. Okay? Another target that we gave was we will reduce the carbon intensity of our economy by 45% by 2030. What is carbon intensity of our economy? What is the carbon intensity of an economy? The amount of carbon emission. देखो GDP क्या होता है? Economy is measured with GDP, है ना? कितना GDP है? The value of goods and services produced in a country. Now, to produce a good or service or anything, आप बिजली use कर रहे हो, आप कुछ emissions कर रहे हो, right? So the amount of emissions that you are making to increase the GDP by 1 unit could be anything, dollar, rupee, anything, by 1 unit is known as emission intensity of the GDP. Okay, मतलब हम कितना emissions कर रहे हैं to increase our GDP by 1 unit. Now, India had pledged to reduce its emission intensity by 45% by 2030. The latest data we have here is that we have already achieved 33% between 2005 and 2019. We have already reduced the emission intensity of our economy by 33%. In fact, ab aur bhi ho gaya hoga. So again, this is also one target which we are very close to achieving, which we'll definitely achieve by 2030. Okay. Next is will reduce carbon emissions by 1 billion tons by 2030. We will reduce the total carbon emissions jitne humne kiye hain since 2005 levels. We will reduce it by 1 billion tons. Now, we already have a carbon sink of 1.97 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. We already have a sink, यानी कि हमारे पेड़, हमारे forests, already हमारे पास इतना ecosystem है which will absorb about 1.97 billion on an annual basis. Okay, so we have already achieved this target. Clear? And finally, the last one is net zero, which we will achieve by 2070. So 2070 abhi bahut dur hai, but in all likelihood, we will definitely achieve this also. Okay. Now, certain reports by international communities have stated that among the G20 countries, India is the only country which is on the path of limiting its carbon dioxide emissions to the extent that temperature will not rise beyond 2 degrees Celsius. So India is the only country which is making right efforts in that direction. Okay, this is the overall international scenario of our renewable energy. So like we discussed, what is renewable energy? Solar, hydel, ये सब आपने खुद ही बता दिया. Okay, hydrogen is also one thing which can be included in this, particularly green hydrogen. What is green hydrogen? Hydrogen that is derived from water. Okay, water is H2O. Okay, so if you split H2O, you get hydrogen. That is green hydrogen. So that is also renewable because water is renewable. Okay. So these are all examples. Today we will be focusing in this class on wind, solar and biomass because these are the three most important and जो सबसे ज़्यादा hold करते हैं value. Let's start with solar energy. First we'll understand that what is solar energy, how it works, what is the value chain system of solar energy. Why? What are the challenges that as a country we are facing it? Now we have abundance of solar energy, right? We exactly lie on the tropics. Why is it so difficult for us to tap solar energy? Let's discuss all of that. So for that, we'll start with the basics, which is, this is what a solar PV array setup looks like. Everybody understands this? Mota mota, people from non-science background, I'll just tell you. This is a photovoltaic array, right? Now, इसके अंदर एक यहाँ पर it is connected one something called solar charge controller. This is a device which controls the amount of charge that is going in the battery for storage, ताकि एक साथ बहुत ज़्यादा ना जाए, कम ना जाए. Okay, so this is kind of a controller. This goes to DC. Okay, DC to DC converter, because sometimes you have to manage the voltage from one system to another. And then finally DC to AC converter. We have DC to AC, you understand, right? हमारी कितनी आती है यहाँ पे? What is the normal voltage that Indian systems receive? Yes, and it is in AC, right? It's AC. So, and then finally it goes into the households or wherever units. This is a broad bird's eye view. Now let's go into the details. Let's go into the details of this, okay? Now, as you all know, solar industry is mostly dependent in the world on a particular element called silicon, right? What is silicon? Okay, so silicon basically is the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust, first being oxygen. Okay, silicon is the second most abundant with 28% by mass in the Earth's crust. ठीक है, जो हम sand भी बोलते हैं, हम बोलते हैं silicon dioxide, SiO2, right? Major component of that is that. So that is silicon. Now, this silicon is a major component in the solar photovoltaic cells. In nature, it occurs in this form, which is called metallurgical grade silicon. ठीक है, नॉर्मल ओर में आपको जैसे मिलेगी, ठीक है. मेटलर्जिकल ग्रेड सिलिकॉन इज समथिंग दैट कैनॉट बी यूज्ड डायरेक्टली इन सोलर सेल्स. We convert this metallurgical grade silicon into something called polysilicon or polycrystalline silicon. Okay, polycrystalline silicon. There are some processes to do it. The main process is known as the Siemens process. Siemens process. Okay. The Siemens process, primarily what it does is, it treats this metallurgical silicon with hydrochloric acid, okay, HCl, okay, and after a few repeated steps, don't have to go too much into the detail of the process, it comes out with something called a polysilicon. अब metallurgical silicon और polysilicon में क्या difference है? Polysilicon has multiple crystals. It has a multiple crystal structure, okay, and it is therefore more suited to make PV modules. All right. Now, when I say multiple structures, again that goes into the multiple crystals, that goes into the chemistry part of it. Don't need to understand, but उसको एक metal flaky effect बोलते हैं कि suppose ये आपका silicon का structure है, उसके बीच में ऐसे spaces और ये ऐसे बीच बीच में उसके gaps आ जाएंगे. Okay, so it gives it a multi-crystalline structure. Okay, that's what it is. This polysilicon is converted into या cast into these cylindrical objects called ingots. Okay, this is converted into cylindrical objects called ingots. These ingots are further converted or chipped into wafers, and wafers are next converted into solar cells. Okay, now wafer to solar cells में one important process that takes place is known as doping. Doping. What is doping? Anybody who knows? पढ़ा होगा. Adding some impurities, ठीक है? Adding some impurities in this material, all right, to enhance its properties. All right, I'll come to the doping part, but finally ये समझ लो, एक doping करते हैं, solar cells बनता है, and through this, once these solar cells are received, there is a full module which is built. ठीक है? This is a proper PV array module. Now, The issue here, the biggest issue here, let's come to what is doping. I'll explain, then you'll understand it better. This is doping. We add certain impurities. This is a pure polycrystalline, polysilicon, okay? This is a pure form. When we add impurities, we add two types of impurities. Zoom, okay. Okay? We add two types of impurities in this. In one of the wafers, in one type, we add something called boron. Okay, boron. Boron, what it does is, boron ka agar structure dekho, it has 3 electrons and 1 space is empty. Okay, this means this has relatively less negative charge. Okay, so you can call it positively charged or p-type. Okay, in the other, we add something called, let's say, antimony. Okay, which has an additional electron. So when you have an additional electron, electrons are negatively charged, this system, this will become n-type or negatively charged type. Clear? Understood? Now, what happens here is, when this doping is done, we get two type of semiconductor wafers, p-type and n-type. One is positively charged and the other is negatively charged. In order for current to flow, what do you need? You need electrons moving, correct? You simply need electrons moving. So what happens is, if you look at this, this is what a solar photovoltaic cell looks like, all right, cross section. Here is the n-type, here is the p-type, okay? And in between, there is an electromagnetic field which stops the electrons from n, extra electrons from n's going into this, all right? Now, what happens when sunlight hits, or photons, sunlight hits in the forms of photons. When photons hit this semiconductor layers, it activates these electrons, all right, and pushes them, because now there is a barrier between the two, it pushes the electrons to flow via this circuit to the p-type. So n jo negatively mein extra electrons the, those are going into the p-type. And what is electricity? It is a flow of electrons. Electrons are flowing in this direction. That means electricity is going in the opposite direction. Okay? This is how a solar photovoltaic cell basically works. All right. Now you have understood how the value chain works. पहले हमने silicon लिया, उसको polycrystalline बनाया. Now, अब हमें ये देखना है that where does India stand in all of this? What is India's position with respect to all of this? Now, if you look at it closely, about 97% of this process, yani ki formation of polycrystalline silicon, this is dominated by China in the world. 97% polycrystalline is dominated by China, and about 80% of the modules, solar modules, are also produced in China. Okay. Some major companies of the world which primarily deal with these processes are Shin Etsu, Sumco, Siltronic. Siltronic is German, Global Wafers, this is Taiwanese. Okay, these are the names of some companies which are global leaders and who have monopoly in this business. That means this is not being undertaken by any other country. So agar India mein you have to set up solar cells, solar modules or anything, you have to import these components. The only thing India may, the only value addition, which is about 20%, 80% of our solar needs is met through imports. The only 20% part that we do is we make solar modules out of solar cells. This is the only part in the value chain where India actually is doing something. Other than that, everything else, for everything else, we are dependent on China and imports. So now you understand what is the challenge. Okay, why Indian government is promoting that we should do more indigenous development of solar technologies. Okay, the problem with this is this is something that requires a lot of investment, infrastructural investment, okay, to achieve these. But this still is high value only if you do it in large volumes. If you're doing this activity in small volumes, it does not give you enough returns on investments. Okay, so India needs to scale up massively in this. Clear? Understand? That is why India is probably lacking in development of solar PV modules. All right? Okay. So this is a value chain understanding of solar. If you look at this diagram, silicon is 95% of the market. जितने भी solar modules बनते हैं world में, 95% of them are made using silicon. Only about 4% is cadmium, tellurium, and again 1% is some other metals or some other elements. Okay, so when 95% of the solar modules in the world are made of silicon, you are only dependent on that process and that value chain, and India is lacking there heavily. All right, clear? So this is one understanding of solar photovoltaic cells and its value chain. Second thing is, what are the other ways of tapping solar energy? अब एक तो हो गया कि आपने सोलर एनर्जी, इलेक्ट्रिकल सोलर एनर्जी, दैट इज लाइट एनर्जी, यू डायरेक्टली कन्वर्टेड इट इनटू इलेक्ट्रिकल एनर्जी. The second is you can use that light to generate heat, and that heat in turn can generate electricity. So that is known as solar thermal. Wherever the word thermal comes, it is about temperature. Okay, so solar thermal power plants, that means you are using reflectors or you are using mirrors or anything to concentrate solar light at one point, heating that place up, using that heat to probably heat something else, and then using that to generate turbines. Give you an example. Look, this is an example. This is what a solar thermal power plant looks like. So solar thermal park. Okay, there is a tower here at the center, and uske pure aaspas all you see is mirrors and reflectors. All these reflectors are basically directing the sun's heat or energy towards the top of this tower. Towards the top of this tower, what happens here inside? This is the receiver, all right? It heats up, bahut zyada, obviously it will heat up to a great extent. This heat is transferred to the other parts of the system via molten salts, पिघला हुआ नमक, okay? पिघले हुए नमक से we transfer this heat, and that can be used to generate electricity. Either you can use that to boil water, okay, and water से steam बनी, steam से you can move the turbine and you can generate electricity. All right, so this is how you use the heat of the sun to generate electricity. That is again solar thermal power plant. All right, this is clear, understood? Now recently China has unveiled the world's largest and dual tower, okay, you find out where it is, dual tower solar thermal power plant. All right, a third system, a third technology of using solar energy is similar to first one, क्योंकि इसमें we are again using solar cells. The only difference is what happens with solar cells. You have to wait for the sunlight to fall exactly on the solar cell, right? Directly उसके ऊपर fall करे, and then you can generate electricity. We want a condition in which we should not wait for the sunlight to fall directly on it. Probably it should capture light from all sides, redirect it to a solar cell, and that can do its job. That work is done by something called luminescent solar concentrators. These are basically made of plastic or glass, transparent material. This is how they look like in real, okay? And using the concept of total internal reflection, which you all must have studied in school, mirage jisse banta hai, right? Total internal reflection, the sunlight from all sides, everywhere, all directions is captured, and it is directed towards the solar cell, and then the solar cell does its job. Okay, so this is a third model which is rarely used. All right, main दो models वही हैं और सबसे ज़्यादा solar photovoltaic ही है. Clear? So this is with respect to solar energy. Now I have already told you India's position. What are some of the schemes that we have in India with respect to solar energy? What are the schemes, how the government is working on it? You have National Solar Mission, right? It started in 2010, and we had a target of achieving 20 gigawatts by 2022. How much are we doing today? हमने अभी पढ़ा था सोलर का कितना है 45. This is the figure. Solar is 45%. It is about 90 gigawatts. So we have already achieved that target. All right. Okay, so 20 tha, so abhi we are already at 90. All right. Then a recently launched scheme was PM Kusum. Solar energy is something that can really help the farmers because farmers are in broad daylight, right? They are at that time. Second is electricity is used in agriculture to a great extent, and sometimes it is heavily subsidized, so it puts a heavy pressure on the government's pockets. So that can also help. So this is basically Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uthan Mahabhiyan. Okay, solar power installation in rural areas primarily for agriculture. Okay, this is PM Kusum scheme. Details and all you can please see yourself because we have a lot to cover. We are just touching the points. Next is Pradhan Mantri Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. Okay, now the idea is everywhere you cannot have large solar parks because solar parks need land, right? Land acquisition is a problem. You can probably use that land for better purposes. So we are trying to promote the solar panels on roof. Rooftop solar is what we are trying to promote. ताकि हर घर अपना या हर residential complex or whatever, they are able to generate their own energy at a local source. This is also known as distributed energy resource. That means energy which can be developed at a local level, there and then. You don't need to go to a, जैसे thermal power plant है, आप घर में thermal power plant लगा सकते हो? नहीं. You have to have a centralized. This is a distributed resource, which means you can do it at the own local level. Clear? Then we have the production linked incentive scheme. This scheme is where the government is trying to promote the development and production of manufacturing of solar photovoltaic modules, high efficiency PV modules. Okay. And finally, carbon credit trading scheme. Carbon credits, simple concept, जो carbon credits generate करेगा, they can trade. This is just in its nascent stage, but eventually solar energy and all these will get a push using this, okay? And we have permitted an FDI investment of up to 100% under the automatic route in this, because we want investments in this. Clear? Understood? Okay.
Does the vast syllabus of general studies for the UPSC prelims overwhelm you to initiate your preparation for the civil services examination? Is your apprehension and self-doubt coming in the way of your success in joining the civil services? Comprehend your preparation for UPSC Prelims 2025 with the fast-track course targeting general studies with innovative curriculum, revision and mentorship. Starting from 19th November at 1 p.m., the course offers coverage of UPSC GS Prelims subjects, dedicated mentorship support and guidance for performance maximization, access to PT 365 classes for current affairs preparation, sectional mini tests for regular assessment and performance, personalized student portal to access study material, access to live and online classes. Enroll today and make prelims your stepping stone to proceed to the UPSC mains.
Next, important solar power projects in India. जैसे projects, standalone projects कौन-कौन से हैं? Okay. First is the largest solar park, which is stated to be the world's largest solar park in the world, is Bhadla Solar Park in Rajasthan. All right. In India, we also have a concept of floating solar power projects. This is floating, right? If you see the PV arrays and the modules are floating over a water body. What is the advantage of this? क्यों है floating? क्या है? होने दो land पे, पानी पे क्यों रखना है? Very good. So it has a threefold benefit. First is, like she said, it stops evaporation losses of water. पानी को एक छत मिल गई तो पानी कम evaporate होगा. Second is, it helps in saving land, because you are not permanently occupying that land for solar activities. Okay. And third is the efficiency of these solar panels increases if they are laid on water, because they remain cool from beneath. Okay. So the efficiency also remains. This concept first came about in Gujarat, where, you know, a young SDO like you all, he, along with Gujarat State Electricity Corporation, started this solar paneling on a canal in Gujarat. तो वो canal का पानी भी evaporation loss से बचा. And Gujarat, as you know, is a dry state, so they wanted to protect water also, conserve water. And that young SDO, and along with that project, received the Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration. Okay, so that was a great innovation at that time, and now, of course, it has been replicated across the country. So this is just for your little motivation, that people sometimes say that bureaucracy is boring and the jobs are tedious. No, there is a lot of scope for innovation. If you want, you can really, you know, push things and try things out. All right. Okay. Next is another interesting project is Modhera in Gujarat. This is India's first 100% 24/7 solar power village. 100% 24/7. Okay. This is the picture of Modhera. What is this monument that you see here in Modhera? This is the Sun Temple. All right. This is the Sun Temple. Now again, a homework. Please note where and how many Sun Temples are there in India. Okay. Please link things. Okay. And Kochi is the world's first fully solar powered airport. Clear? Some important organizations related to solar power. International Solar Alliance, most of you already know about it. It was launched at COP21. India was one of the, you know, pioneers on launching International Solar Alliance, the headquarters of which are in Gurugram here in India. Okay. And who all can become a member of International Solar Alliance? Any country, any United Nations member can become a member of International Solar Alliance. When it was launched, it was countries which lie between the tropics, but now we have opened up to all countries. Okay. अब हमें surplus sunshine वाले चाहिए तो deficit वाले भी चाहिए. If there is a seller, there has to be a buyer also. Okay. All right. Say another important body related to solar energy in India is the Solar Energy Corporation of India. This is a government company that is responsible for implementing the National Solar Mission. Okay, so this is a PSU, central PSU, which is looking after solar energy. And we have a institute called National Institute of Solar Energy, which is a premier institute in research and development activities related to solar energy in India. That is National Institute of Solar Energy. Okay? These are the main bodies related to solar energy in India. Now, state-wise capacity. State-wise. So, which state? Currently, it is Rajasthan. Okay? Currently, this is as on September 2024. All right? This is Rajasthan is first, Gujarat second, and third is Tamil Nadu. All right? These are the top 3 solar energy producing states in India. See, when the government gives data, it gives solar kitna hai, hybrid kitna hai, rooftop, sab karke, add karke, and then the total. All right? Now, if you notice here, rooftop may actually Gujarat is higher than Rajasthan. You notice this? Gujarat is higher because Rajasthan may, वैसे solar parks and all are there, but rooftop has not penetrated as much. Okay, Gujarat may it is much more. People are more aware, and the technology has really taken up. Okay, so this is cumulative state-wise data. Now, what are the challenges that we face in adopting solar technology? क्यों नहीं हम कर पाते? जो apart from the value addition chain जो हमने देखा है that we are relying on other countries, what else is the issue? बताओ, any guesses? Production नहीं है, क्यों नहीं है? यही question है. Manufacturing नहीं है, we are dependent on imports. ठीक है, that is one point. Other than economic viability, okay, but in the long run it eventually becomes viable. Technology, we are dependent, technical know-how, we are dependent on other countries for that, okay, or recycle, we can't recycle solar energy. but it is renewable. There is abundance of it. Why do you want to recycle? So you can't recycle solar cells. Okay. Yes, solar cells have a lifespan. अभी तो खैर it's improved 20-30 odd years तो हो ही गया है. So, but yes, solar cells are also becoming an increasing part of e-waste. वो भी अभी हम पढ़ेंगे. All right. Okay. See, I'll tell you the main reasons what are. ठीक है. Heavy reliance on imports तो you will write. तुम लिख लोगे exam में. ठीक है. Lack of skilled manpower and R&D infrastructure, you will write this also. The lack of awareness among general public is one major reason. People are not generally aware. Gujarat में हमने देखा rooftop is higher. Why? Because there is awareness among people. Okay, so lack of awareness. There are contractual issues with discoms, distribution companies. The main issue with solar power is solar होता है दिन में, light चाहिए हमें रात को. ठीक है. लोड जो सबसे ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का लोड आता है रात को आता है बिकॉज एवरीबडी स्विचेस ऑन लाइट्स. ओके, एंड सोलर पावर इज अवेलेबल. So there is a need to store the solar power that we generate during daytime, and that storage is an issue. That storage becomes an issue. Okay, and because of that also generation may fluctuations becomes an issue. Okay, so you need to have a continuous supply through your transmission lines. If you are transmitting solar fluctuating energy, that disturbs the lines also. Okay, it can collapse the system. All right, so we need a uninterrupted correct amount of supply. Okay, so intermittent power is also one issue. Okay, poor plant load factor. What is plant load factor? Plant load factor means कि कोई भी एक प्लांट, यानी कि चाहे वो थर्मल पावर प्लांट हो या वो सोलर प्लांट हो, how much energy are they actually developing, manufacturing or producing versus how much they can. Okay, if they were operating on full efficiency. So thermal power plants have a plant load factor of about 60%, which means that जितना उनकी total capacity है उसका 60% तो वो आराम से achieve कर लेते हैं. 60% पे they keep generating power. But with solar it is about 20% only. जितनी उसकी capacity है, we generate only 20% of that power. So we have a poor plant load factor in case of solar plants. Okay, grid connectivity. There are multiple issues like I told you with grid connectivity. So when there is intermittent power, you have to balance it with other powers. For example, daytime में आप solar से grid को connect कर दो, it is deriving energy from there. So either you get a storage or at night time you get maybe through hydroelectric power or some other source of power, so that the grid connectivity or this uninterrupted supply remains intact. Okay, transmission losses होते हैं. ठीक है, breakdown of grid हो जाता है. Evening load, what I told you, that we need more of solar energy or power in evening, and solar energy is available during daytime. Okay, and one more major issue is bank loans, because this whole setup of setting up solar parks does not have any collateral. आप क्या collateral दोगे? ज़मीन आप already किसी से, because you can't buy that kind of land. Okay, it is usually you are already establishing it on an understanding or something or the other. So you do not have any asset as such which you can give as a collateral to banks. So banks also hesitate, and the gestation period is high. So banks also hesitate to give loans to these renewable energy. Although now priority sector lending includes renewable energy. So that is why government included renewable energy among the priority sector lending targets. But still, this is one of the challenges. Okay, clear? These are the challenges related to solar energy, why it has not penetrated in India. Next is wind energy. Let's start with wind energy. Okay, how many of you ever seen this wind turbine? Real में देखा ऐसा? कभी नहीं देखा? Or anyone from Maharashtra, Karnataka? These people might have seen hilly areas. Okay, it's very huge. कितना बड़ा होता है ये बताओ? Can you give me an estimate? How many buildings? How many story buildings? Yes. So this thing itself is as tall as like a 5 or 6 storied building. The blades, okay, the turbine basically. This is that big. All right. Now the issue with wind turbine is, again, now let's understand how it works. ये diagram offshore wind energy का है, ठीक है, where we are generating this offshore energy. Offshore means it is in the ocean or somewhere in the sea, that is beyond the shore or land. So wind turbines, there is an offshore substation. Okay, in case of onshore, there will be a one single substation. Substation will give it to transmission, and transmission will finally give it to wherever it is required. Now, to understand how wind energy works, again, let's go into the system. ये अंदर से दिखता कैसा है? Okay, this part of the main जो हमें दिखता है unit, that the tower is actually called the tower. Okay, then the part which rotates is called the rotor. Okay, this has the blades which rotate. All right, now in this system itself, if you look closely, there is a shaft which is connected to the rotor. ये blue shaft दिख रही है, which is connected to the rotor. So as the rotor rotates, the shaft is rotating, it is moving this particular, one second. Let me zoom it for you guys, you will see, find it better. This diagram. Okay. अब ये रोटेट करेगा तो ये वाला जो चक्का है ये घूमेगा. I don't know what it's called in Hindi. Chakka only, no? Huh? Okay. So this rotates, okay? And this is in turn connected to a smaller unit that also rotates, all right? So what happens when you see a stationary cycle? कभी खड़ी cycle घुमाई है ऐसे ऐसे? क्या ऐसे घूमती है? When your cycle is parked, it's not moving. I'm giving an example. How does it move? If you move the pedal, you just have to move the pedal once for the back wheel to rotate 10 to 15 times or 5 to 6 times, that ratio, right? Why? Because this is a bigger lever and this is a smaller one, ठीक है? तो जितने में इसकी एक रोटेशन होगी उसमें उतने टाइम्स में इसकी बहुत सारी मल्टीपल रोटेशंस हो जाएंगी. Okay, that ratio in this case of a wind turbine is about 1 to 70 or 1 to 100. Okay, so one rotation of the blade that you see in front of you, because I also used to wonder, यार इतना धीरे घूम रहे क्या बिजली बनाता होगा, right? There's a common, curiosity that it just invokes. But the idea is that if this rotate one time, the inside this component will rotate about 100 times. All right. Now, this in turn is connected to the turbine. Sorry. This is connected to the generator. This is connected to the generator, right? Uske andar, there are two magnets, internal and outside. और फिर वो उनकी rotation से electricity is generated. Okay. So this is a generator. Now, the question is, what is this anemometer and what is this? Okay. अब wind ये ऐसे है, okay? It is moving like this, ऐसे घूम रहा है. अब मेरी wind अगर ऐसे चलने लग गई तो that means my blade will not move in the same direction all the time, clockwise or anti-clockwise. It's not constant. To make that constant, there is a device called anemometer. ये airports पे देखा है, ये जो wind की direction को judge करता है. Anemometer tells where is the direction of the wind. So what happens is this yaw is this piece here. This yaw turns so tower remains as it is. Yaw allows this portion of the of the wind turbine to move. So अगर ये ऐसे है, ये ऐसे हो गया, तो eventually वो उस direction में move कर जाता है कि आपकी जो blades हैं वो clockwise ही move करे. Is this understood? Clear? So this is the purpose of yaw, and this is how the wind energy is created. Electrical energy is created using wind. Understood? Okay. Now the major companies in the world, again, which are generating wind system, again, India mein production is not there. So these are Vestas wind system, Siemens, okay, GE Renewable Energy. These are all companies of the world, major companies which are Suzlon, देखा होगा Suzlon, जिस पे लिखा भी रहता है. These are all companies, international companies which are generating wind turbines. So India में production नहीं है, it's very low. Okay, India imports materials like castings for wind turbines from China and Turkey accounting for about 80% of the total supply. Again 80% हमारा solar भी China से और 80% from for wind also. And we lack forging services with only about 20% of the gearbox equipment जो है. Gearbox इसमें ये होता है gearbox. Gearbox is only to adjust the speed. कि ऐसा ना हो कि बहुत तेज हवा आई और फिर वो बहुत फास्ट घूमने लग गया, that will disrupt the system. Gearbox is only to adjust the speed of the turbines. So that is only, this is the only component which is perhaps domestically produced in India. Everything else is otherwise imported. All right. So this is an understanding of the value chain. State-wise production in India. This data is slightly old, but I'm assuming कि यही ranking है अभी. It is November 2023. Okay, but still Gujarat is far ahead. Far ahead. So most of the books, old books, mention Tamil Nadu as the first. It's not Tamil Nadu, it's in fact Gujarat. Okay, Gujarat as the wind power cumulative capacity, Tamil Nadu, then Karnataka. All right. What are some of the schemes related to wind power generation? Some of the most important schemes जो पहले थी, that was generation based incentive scheme. Generation based incentive scheme was launched by the government that whoever is generating wind energy will be given some incentive or some sort of subsidies or some sort of concessions. Simple, usi lines पे था. Then there is the viability gap funding. This is the most recent. This happened in this month only. Viability gap funding scheme for offshore wind energy projects. Okay, offshore wind energy means those which are done in the seas or open oceans. And the main issue is viability gap funding hota kya? I hope you understand in economics. That means a project which is not financially viable, okay, which requires a certain huge amount of investment at the start, uski gap ko fund karne ke liye the scheme is viability gap funding. Okay, more details you can check your economics books also. All right, so that is this scheme. इंडिया का पोटेंशियल कितना है विंड एनर्जी का? नाउ दिस इज इंटरेस्टिंग. इंडिया हैज अ पोटेंशियल ऑफ अबाउट 700 gigawatts at a height of 120 meter. So if our wind turbines rotate at a height of 120 meter, we have a potential of 700 gigawatts. But वही टर्बाइन अगर हम 150 मीटर जितनी ऊंची कर दें, then we have a potential of 1160 gigawatts. This is the potential. This is not installed capacity. This is what is the potential that we have as a country. All right. Highest potential is in Andhra, Gujarat, and Karnataka. And who are the leading states? What is that order? Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. All right. Then you have wind energy renewable purchase obligations. That means the government has told state discoms, distribution companies, that certain component of your electricity which you buy should come from renewable energy. So that also promotes wind energy. We have waived off interstate transmission system charges for solar and wind power projects. Okay, so these are some of the small initiatives that are helping. Technical support is being done through, again, National Institute of Wind Energy, जो हमने देखा, that is in Chennai. National Institute of Wind Energy, this is the premier institute which has installed over 900 wind monitoring stations all over the country. So it is assessing कि हमारी कितना wind potential है. ठीक है? Clear? Understood? Country wise, where do we stand? This is again 2022 data. Country wise, again, China is number one. India को third बोलते हैं because we don't count European Union. It's not a country. All right. So when you say India is which rank in wind energy, you will say third because China, US, fourth. China, US, Germany, and then India. Okay. India ranks fourth in wind energy. All right. And worldwide, how much it ranks in renewable energy? Fourth. What were the top three countries? China, US, Brazil, and then India. ठीक है? Clear? Abhi, हाँ, but we'll have to, yes, you are right, we probably have to, they would have also grown, so we'll have to check that data. All right, clear? But fourth rank abhi bhi maintained hai, that is still there. So yes, Brazil must have also grown. All right, okay. So this is a understanding of wind energy, what is its value chain, how dependent we are on imports, and what are the different schemes in India. Okay, all right. Next is bioenergy. All right, biomass energy. Now biomass, you understand what is biomass? What is biomass? Organic material from the dead remains or remains of plants and animals. Dead भी नहीं हो तो live भी हो, ठीक है? So biomass, basically, how do we generate, what is the main process that helps us generate energy from biomass? One of the main processes that is involved is known as pyrolysis. देखो, किसी भी चीज को आप नॉर्मली, जैसे कूड़ा इकट्ठा होता है, मान लो पत्ते इकट्ठे हुए, राइट, यू गॉट लॉट्स ऑफ लीव्स, आपने उनको आग लगा दी ओपन में, ठीक है, दैट मीन्स यू आर पोल्यूटिंग द एनवायरमेंट. दैट प्रोसेस विल प्राइमरली मोर और लेस बी लाइक इंसिनरेशन. दैट मीन्स आपने सिंपल उसको आग लगा दी इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ एयर. इसी प्रोसेस में इफ यू रिमूव एयर and put that entire biomass in a chamber and you remove air, so there is no air inlet band hai, then this process becomes pyrolysis, and because of this process we get 3 types of fuel from that biomass. ऐसा ये sample है, okay, biomass का. जब हम इसको pyrolysis करते हैं हमें ये 3 products मिलते हैं. First is bio oil, which is like crude oil, okay. Then you get biochar, which is more or less like charcoal and coal. And third is syngas, okay. So pyrolysis process gives you all 3 types, solid, liquid and gas types of fuel. This is the basis of waste to energy conversion technologies, all right. Okay, now अब exactly होता कैसे है? Let's take an example of sugarcane. In India, maximum biomass is generated using sugarcane. ठीक है, maximum जो अभी तक हो रहा है, अभी हम sugarcane के through कर रहे हैं. All right, let's discuss how. This is sugarcane. All right, sugarcane को हम सबसे पहले we take it to the sugar mills, and the most important process that is done for sugar निकालने के लिए क्या करते हैं? We take out its juice. ठीक है, हम गन्ने का रस निकालते हैं. That गन्ने का रस which is taken out is converted into, is crystallized and it is converted into sugar. That is what is sugar, okay. Apart from that, what you can, जो sugar निकल गई उसके अंदर रस निकल गया, फिर वो जो भूसा सा बचता है ना, जो बिल्कुल भूसा बचता है that गन्ने का, that is known as bagasse, BAGASSE, that is known as bagasse, all right. And the thick liquid जो आपको वो मिलेगा, जो आपको शुगर का जूस मिला, उसको जब आपने खूब बॉयल किया, ओके, खूब बॉयल किया, यू गेट अ वेरी थिक लिक्विड, very dark sticky kind of liquid. Oh, this is the picture, I forgot, this is the picture, all right. This dark sticky kind of liquid जो मिलता है, this is known as molasses, molasses, all right. तो bagasse और molasses एक तो वो clear हो गया, right. Now what happens is this molasses, इस molasses को हम we ferment it with microorganisms such as yeast and bacteria, all right. उसको प्रोसेस को अंदर बंद करके, विच इज़ बेसिकली अल्कोहल मेकिंग प्रोसेस, राइट, हम उसको काफ़ी टाइम तक फर्मेंट होने देते हैं. एंड दैट फर्मेंटेशन व्हाट इट डज इज कि जो केन का लिक्विड है वो नीचे, अल्कोहल इज लाइटर इन वेट, तो वो ऊपर ऊपर आनी शुरू हो जाती है, ठीक है. अल्कोहल इज जनरेटेड, दिस अल्कोहल इज डिस्टिल्ड, यानी कि बेसिकली क्या होता है, उस अल्कोहल को ऊपर से पोर कर लिया, जो ऊपर ऊपर आई, देन उसको दोबारा हीट दी, ओके, देन उसको ठंडा करके प्योर फॉर्म में डिस्टिलेशन कर लिया. दैट इज डिस्टिलेशन व्हाट वी स्टडीड इन स्कूल ऑल्सो. वाटर, हम डिस्टिल्ड वाटर कैसे निकालते हैं, थ्रू दिस प्रोसेस ओनली, ऑलराइट. सो बेसिकली दिस प्रोसेस इज रिपीटेड अगेन एंड अगेन, एंड प्योर अल्कोहल. सो जब शुरू में आप फर्स्ट फर्मेंटेशन या डिस्टिलेशन करते हो, इट स्टिल हैज अबाउट 50% वाटर. So the more number of times you do distillation, it becomes purer alcohol, and what you get is ethanol, okay. This ethanol is what we are using as a fuel, primarily as an blending fuel in, let's say, petrol and sustainable aviation fuel, all that, all right, clear, okay. This is the basic of it. Now, what kind of crops or what kind of biomass can be used for the generation of biofuels is of three kinds. First generation, second generation, and third generation. First generation means where you are using exactly conventional food material like sugarcane. आपने proper food material use किया like sugarcane and you are using it, जो कि process अभी हमने discuss किया, to develop ethanol. That is first generation. Okay. The essence is कि आपने sugarcane की sugar का ethanol बनाया. Second generation biomass basically means you are using other crops and wastes. Okay. जैसे पराली या राइस हस्क हो गए. ओके, राइस निकाल लिया और उसकी हस्क जो है, जो स्ट्रॉ बचा, व्हीट स्ट्रॉ बचा, दैट इज सेकेंड जनरेशन, विच इज नॉट एग्जैक्टली फूड, because the sugar content or the main glucose quantity or sucrose quantity in that will be less. Okay, तो उसको थोड़ा और time लगेगा, but since it is a waste, see, sugar can have a better use in, let's say, producing sugar, so maybe this will have a more utility wise, it is more efficient. Okay, so that is for second generation. And third generation means algal biofuels. That means fuels which are coming from algae, yani ki water based जो organisms हैं, that is algae. Okay, this is how biofuels are classified. If you look at how we have over the years, India has changed its composition. देखो, हम पहले molasses ही ज़्यादा use करते थे. This is molasses. Molasses, I just told you what is molasses. That sticky liquid, right? That is being used. Now we are gradually moving towards maize, surplus rice from FCI. This is surplus rice from Food Corporation of India. उसका अब share बढ़ता जा रहा है. Okay, so we are moving from first generation biofuels to second generation biofuels. Understood? What is the blending rate? हम किस rate पे ethanol को blend कर रहे हैं? Okay, we started with about 3%, 5% blending rate हमने 2018-19 में किया था. We've crossed 10-12%. This year हमने थोड़ा सा कम किया. So our average ethanol blending rate in the petrol is about 11.5%. The average blending rate. So if you are putting a liter, okay, of petrol in your this, okay, so then you are putting about 11.5% of that portion will be ethanol. Clear? Okay. What is the state-wise biopower, cumulative biopower? This data is again, I think, December 2023, okay, but I'm not sure बहुत ज़्यादा change नहीं हुआ होगा because biopower in India is again dependent on sugarcane mostly still. I showed you we still have bagasse and molasses as the main component. So sugarcane producing states automatically become the leading states. Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Karnataka, these are the three states which maximum account for biopower in India. Clear? And finally, some important renewable energy projects in India. What are the some important renewable energy projects? हमने भदला देख लिया, ठीक है? रीवा solar project, जैसलमेर again wind park, okay? Then Mupandal wind farm, this is also important. This is in Tamil Nadu. There is Pavagada, okay? Just go through this. These are the most critically important. Puga geothermal energy project in Ladakh. Again, we have not touched geothermal, but still, these are the main important renewable energy projects in India, which includes bio-CNG plant, India's largest bio-CNG plant, which is in which city? Huh? Ranks 1 in Swachhata Sarvekshan. Indore. ठीक है? All right. स्वच्छता सर्वेक्षण में 1 rank आता ही इसलिए है because they are segregating their wastes at the collection points, right? Source segregation हो रहा है. People are dumping their bio waste in this, and that waste is actually being used to produce energy. So that is why Indore is also always ranking 1. ठीक है? Clear? So this is for renewable energy. What are the different kinds of questions that UPSC has asked? I'll touch with prelims. Mains में तो तुम देख ही लेना. But if you see in 2017, UPSC asked a question. It is possible to produce algae-based biofuels, but what are the likely limitations of developing country in this? So first is production of algae-based biofuel is possible only in seas and not on continents. Of course not, of course not. तो ये statement गलत है, ठीक है? So half of your answer is solved here only because 2 options are eliminated. Setting up and engineering the algae-based biofuel production requires high level of expertise and technology until the construction is completed. Yes, it does require. It's a 3rd generation biofuel, okay? And economically viable production necessitates the setting up of large-scale facilities because biofuel will be generated in very small quantities. So you need large-scale facilities in order to make it more reproductive. All right. So this is an example of how it looks like. All right. Another question which UPSC asked in 2019. It is pyrolysis and plasma gasification in which are mentioned in which context? It's a simple, easy question. Waste to energy technologies. Clear? All right. With क्या सीज पे क्यों होगा? वाई कांट यू डू इट ऑन लैंड? तो लैब्स में ही होता है, यू कैन डू इट ऑन लैंड. उसमें कोई ऐसा नहीं कि आपको समुद्र में ही algae को फर्मेंट करना है, राइट? सो दिस इज ऑब्वियसली रॉन्ग. ऑलराइट. Okay, with this we have come to an end of the renewable energy topic. Primarily we had to cover solar and wind energy. All right. You want to take a 5-minute break? Then we'll start with e-waste.